Hello and welcome back to Lorcana Villain. My name is Baker, and today I've got two sets of top 8 deck lists for you from set 6 meta. Just to start off, I am absolutely shattered. I just yesterday got back from a weekend in Bologna, Italy. I'm going to talk more about that at the end and do a couple of admin things. I want to get on with the list because we've got an awful lot to look at. But I'm just bringing it up now to say, as amazing as the weekend was, the journey back was, like, the flight was fine, but then I got back to Stansted Airport and, like, all trains in the UK had stopped and were cancelled. So it ended up taking me an extra, 7 hours to get home. And I didn't get much sleep over the weekend. Again, it was really, really fun. I'll talk about it at the end, lots of amazing things to say. But the point is, I'm absolutely shattered, and tomorrow I'm going to be hosting the stream for 2 matches in the Cross Continentals Challenge. Again, I'll talk a bit more about that at the end. But I really want to get these lists out. So for that reason, I'm going to try my best to keep this one low energy, keep it kind of chill. I put 90% of my energy into that laugh, to be honest. But I really wanted to get this out today, so I'm going to record this and then spend some time editing it, getting it out, and then I'll basically go to bed and do my research for tomorrow. But yeah, just wanted to address that straight away. So if it seems low energy, that's why. But yeah, we're going to be taking a look at 2 different events. The first event that we'll be taking a look at was on the 24th of November, so yesterday at the time of recording. And it was in France, organised by FTL for the Law, and had 140 players, which is our biggest set 6 event so far as I know. I know that Speci casted an event in California over the weekend, which I believe was just over 100 players. I may be wrong, that may have been more. But whether it's the most or not, it's definitely one of our biggest events since set 6 came about. So super keen to look at these lists, and then we'll also be looking at a bunch of lists from the United States, an event that took place on the 23rd, which featured 42 players organised by Top Choice Gaming. So a couple of healthy pools of data to take a look at. I'll talk a bit more about Italy and do a couple of admin things right at the end, but I want to jump in and take a look at these lists. A quick shout out to the channel sponsor, Cardmarket. If you're looking for Lorcana singles at competitive rates, then check out Cardmarket. But let's take a look at 2 sets of top 8 deck lists. Alright, so as I said, I'm going to be starting with FTL for the Law, 140 player event in France. And first place was taken, the first of 3 lists that made it into top 8 by EA Tempo. Just win the game. Yeah, a deck that's looking really well situated in the new meta. Set 5, it really fell off, which was a shame. I had some success, but nothing like the heyday of set 3 and 4. But so far in this meta, it's feeling really well positioned. Artabax winning one of the first set 6 events in Battle Bear, going 18-0 with EA Tempo. And there was an interview with him recently where we talked all about it. So if you haven't seen that, I highly advise you go check it out. And I even highly advise is what I wanted to say, and that's definitely not a word. I would advise even more, sure, that you go check out Artabax's channel where he does a podcast with Lorcana deck lists every week, and they recently did a video talking all about Artabax's version of EA Tempo. But yeah, taking first place in this huge event, a huge congratulations to Moosh, and healthy pool of 1-drops to just be as aggro as we can. These Cursed Merfolks are super well situated at the moment, especially with a respectable amount of Amethyst players now playing the new Diablo, which is such a good card. I really think it's like one of the best cards to have come out of this set. I was saying the best at one point. I actually think it's Genie now, but still one of the best cards to come out of the set. But the problem is, it works in EA Tempo, but for Ruby Amethyst specifically, I've dropped it for Brooms, because if you're against EA Tempo, which we need to, as red-purple players, need to be super prepped for this again now. We're back on 8-cost uninkable Sisus, lads, I'm sorry. But yeah, if they open Merfolk and then your only 1-drop is a Diablo, that's GG, mate. But yeah, it does work in this deck, and it can work in Ruby Amethyst. But my point being, this is super aggressive. The Merfolks, we've got Clarabelle Engine here with 2 copies of the Floodborn. The Diablos, as I just said, again, it hurts if they play an aggressive 1-drop themselves. You can't really follow with this, but it is a super good card and synergizes really well with the 4 crabs. And of course, 2 Shiner Box followers. I think I'd always want to max out on these shots. I don't know if Artabax maxed out on these or not. Yeah, he is. I've just brought up Artabax's list, and it is exactly the same. So, yeah, that shows me if Artabax says 2 is good, then I'm never going to argue with that. But yeah, an aggressive, great set of 1-drops. We've got the 4 Bonsais, this new Go-Go Tamago, 2 cost Inkable 2/2, quest for 1, evasive, and on play, you can pay 2 more ink to gain lore equal to the damage on a chosen opposing character. So any character, even just a 2 lore bump can be game winning, but if you can get 3, 4, 5, courtesy of things like Maui, Tamatoa, anything with Clarabelle, anything with a big body, then this is absolutely game-winning. Ursula for the songs. Traditional bounce package with the addition of White Rose to get a mini goat, 1 copy of Peter Pan in the Shadow Finder, to be a soft Diablo answer if it's not a Cove. Kit Cloud Kickers to control the board. The new Genie, as I do think this is the best new card in to come out of the set. 4 cost, uninkable 2/4, quest for 2, evasive, and draw a card on play. So very similar to Rabbit, but at the same time serving extremely different purposes. Like, it's easy to say, like, I think even I said when I first looked at Genie, like, well, I don't think I was so much saying it is the same as Rabbit. I was saying you might play this along with Rabbits and think of them as, oh, it's 5th or 6th Rabbit, which is somewhat accurate, but at the same time you have to bear in mind the pressure they put on the board is so fundamentally different. Obviously, they're both giving you at least 1 card, but Rabbit is a way to start to gain card advantage, whereas Genie is just winning you beginning to win you the game straight away. Plus the fact that he's evasive and can be a potential answer for things like Diablo makes him more of an offensive option than something like a Rabbit is. So yeah, I'm so in love with this Genie. And then yeah, Bounce Staff, 4 Elsa, 5th Spirit for such a great, fantastic ability. 1 copy of the Floodborn Ursula. We've got the 4 shift targets, and her ability is great, shutting down singers and exerting characters, and of course the Clarabelle, as I said. So yeah, EA Tempo is looking super well situated, and we've got more to look at, but congratulations to Moosh. Oh, before we move on, I will highlight the one-off Gazelle, who on play gives evasive to one of your, any character until the start of your next turn, which can make other characters answers to Diablo, and even if it's just giving you a free questing turn, like giving evasive to your Goat or your Elsie or Ursula, your Clarabelle, anything like that is super, super good. And yeah, it makes sense that, like, from a gameplay perspective, but I also think this is a good representation of, like, this is Artabax, and this is all of his adoring fans. But going on to the next, in top 8, we have Nock, who is playing a similar version with some different counts. The 1-drops look almost the same. 2 copies of that Gazelle. We're running 4 copies of White Rose, so a bit more invested in that. And 2 copies of Ursula, Sea Witch Queen, but everything else looking extremely similar. So congratulations to Nock. And our final EA Tempo deck that made top 8 of this 140-player tournament is a little bit different. This is a toolbox version, utilizing lots of different options, which is going to hurt your consistency very much. I think there are, like, how many cards are we actually playing 4 copies of here? Yeah, 6 cards are 4 ofs, and then a whole lot of other options. So 1-drops that we'd expect, but the Olaf here, which again is another character that can work with the Crab and give you a bit more survivability against the Steel deck, so I don't hate the Olaf by any means. Also 3 copies of Pegasus with that evasive, which again alongside Crab can be an answer to other evasive threats, or just be a way to cheat out a lot of lore in the early game if your opponent doesn't have evasive answers or Steel cards to just chip this off the board. 3 copies of Sir Hiss to be an evasive answer. We're running 1 copy of Belle, who I'm not going to talk about in too much detail right now, but I'm running 2 Belle now in Ruby Amethyst because I think she is super, super good the way the meta is situated at the moment, especially courtesy of Genie Wish Fulfilled. So in even Ruby Amethyst, I'm jamming a couple of these Belle. And yeah, no surprise to see it in a version of EA Tempo because the synergy with Genie is pretty incredible. We're running 2 copies of Isabella Madrigal, who has evasive, and if you quest with her, you can't quest with any of your other characters, but if you quest and no other character has quested, then she gets an extra 3 lore, so she's questing for 4, so she can be super aggressive. And hey, in a meta where if we're seeing evidence of red players lowering their copies of Medusa, then maybe she has a bit more of a chance to shine. Cricky obviously giving you a great tempo board swing with the Challenger 3 it gives and questing for 3. 2 copies of Genie on the Job, who's a nice tempo answer, and again, an evasive. Not a card we see very often these days, but I like a bit of Genie. 4 friends, and 1 copy of the new You Came Back to just ready a chosen character, which I really, really like this card. I don't know how much I like it in this deck. I mean, it can be fine. Like, you are allowed to quest a second time, so if you're just getting an extra quest off with, like, to be fair, this with Isabella Madrigal is pretty crazy. So that is an option. I personally think this deck is trying to do a bit too much, for my personal taste. But one card I do want to highlight here is 2 copies of Scroop, Odious Mutineer, 3 cost uninkable, 2/1, quest for 2, evasive. And when you play this character, you may pick 3 to banish chosen damaged character. So, for respect to this player making top 8 and 140 person event, I do like some of the spice that's going on here. But in my opinion, I think this is just wrong to run this Scroop, purely because of the existence of Ana, who can get you this same effect of banishing a damaged character, but you're only paying 5 as opposed to having to pay 6 with our Scroop here. But comes with the flexibility of also getting the potential +2 strength, or to make them discard. The only thing that Scroop has over Ana is the fact that he's evasive, which, okay, cool, it's another evasive answer, but we're already running 3 copies of Sahis, which I think is right, and we're running Tamagos, which is another way of dealing with it, and then we've got the Isabellas, and we've got the Genies, the Genies. Oh yeah, no, it's not a Floodborn. For a second there, I thought Genie on the job was a Floodborn, and I was like, oh yeah, you could shift, and then I was like, no, you can't. But back to my point. As much as I like this character, love me some Treasure Planet, love me a bit of Scroop. When he first came out, I was like, I quite like this card, and I think it could have potentially seen play for this banish a damaged character ability. It's not awful, but then Ana was in the same set, so it just made him kind of irrelevant, unfortunately. So yes, in my opinion, I think this should be Ana every day of the week, and like if you want this effect. Or to be honest, I think I would probably just cut it and just raise the counts of other things, but at the very least I would run Ana over this, but that's just my opinion. But nonetheless, top 8 of 140 person field in France, like, they go hard. There's some super good Lorcana players in France, so I respect this person. Probably an awesome pilot, but yeah, I don't understand the Scroop personally, but nonetheless, a huge congratulations to them. Alright, going back to second place, we have Wise Badger with the first of 3 Ruby Sapphire control decks to look at. But really, it's Red Blue Shark, because Shark is an addition of all of these decks. Let's look at him straight away. 6 cost inkable, 7/5 quest for 1, evasive. When he challenges another character, you can return an action from your discard to your hand, and whenever you play an action, you gain 1 lore. We are running 2 copies of Vitalosphere, which is a way to give this rush and be able to make this a faster card. I think he can be slow, but even if you're not giving him rush, just putting this down makes your opponent have to have an answer. Like, it's not a bad play to just put this down by any means and make them respond to it. But yeah, the Vitalosphere obviously means that we can get this off out of nowhere, and yeah, we're already running plenty of actions, down to just 1 hideaway in the majority of these red-blue decks, which used to run 2, or maybe a combination with Kuzco. Some might still run Kuzco because of the body, but as long as you don't ink this hideaway, then knowing that you can just get it back with Shark is pretty cool. Sally Azurite Sea, great new addition to the deck for ramp and draw. Vision to find pieces, Brawl, because you just gotta. 2 How Far I'll Go to filter through and continue to ramp. 2 copies of B Prep in here as our board wipe. I mentioned the Vitalosphere, we've got 3 Ice Block. Porpsicles, we are running 2 copies of Great Stone Dragon, no Fishbone Quills in this deck whatsoever. 1 copy of Lucky Dime, we're also seeing 1 copy of Gold Coin, 1 cost inkable. You exert and pay 1 and banish the item to ready a chosen character of yours. They can't quest for the rest of the turn. So quite reminiscent of the Shield of Virtue, which is a very similar ability, but you pay 3, but you don't have to banish the shield. You could keep using it, but yeah, this just giving you an extra challenge out of nowhere is pretty good, and obviously is for the Shark. If you can have a character that can take 2 hits, or 2 characters on board is probably going to be the case most of the time with your 7 strength, then yeah, being able to like double challenge and get 2 actions back from the discard sounds super spicy. 2 Medusa, we want 3 copies of Big Sisu and 3 copies of the Daring Visitor, 4 Tipo, 2 copies of Maui I think is fine, and yeah, then the rest really being a tale as old as time, the Flavishams, the Talas, the Tamatoas, and the Maleficents. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of not playing any Quill, as much as I do like a Great Stone Dragon, but overall deck looks super nice, and yeah, I think this Maui half Shark is going to end up being in more red-blue decks decks than not. There will still be red-blue decks that won't play Maui and will do very well. But yeah, people seem to be enjoying him. He seems to, like, warrant space in the deck for just what he can provide. So yeah, huge congratulations to Wise Badger. Top 4, we have Marmite, which is a name I recognize. I'm pretty sure we've covered them in the past when looking at French events. But yeah, also utilizing that Maui Half Shark and the 2 Vitalisphere. We don't have the gold coin in here. 1 copy of Lucky Dime. Again, no Fishbone Quills. Wow, apparently I missed a memo. Apparently I missed a memo about red-blue. There you go. We are seeing 2 copies of Develop Your Brain as another way to help us dig for pieces. And again, it's just a cheap way to be able to utilize the Maui lore gain ability. Just 1 copy of Be Prepared. 2 copies of Tamatoa seems super low to me, to be honest. But I mean, if we're just saying, I don't know. I think Tamatoa is it not so often like such an important piece of the puzzle? I mean, maybe this is an argument towards how good people think Maui Half Shark is. Yeah, interesting. Don't know how I feel about it, but again, top 4, big old event. You've got to pay some attention to the data. But yeah, the rest of the card counts being pretty standard. 4 copies of Maui in here, 3 How Far Ago, and 1 Let It Go as well. For some of those must-answer threats, with Maui Half Shark on the opposing side of the board being another one of them. But yeah, deck looks super nice. Congratulations to Marmite. And our last red-blue deck in top 8, we have Reaver on the full 4 count of Maui Shark. Also on the 2 Tamatoa. Either I'm missing something, or this is a team or friends that are trying similar ideas. But hey, I respect it. That 1 copy of Develop Your Brain, the 1 Let It Go, 2 Be Prep. So yeah, a lot of the same sort of things, but just a few player preference choices concerning card count. But yeah, red-blue performing super well in this event alongside EA Tempo. So huge congratulations to them. Going back to top 4, we have the first of 2 SteelSong decks to round out the top 8 of this event. And the pilot is Raffi Games. We are on that 4/4 Robin Hood, which I don't think is as a sure a thing these days, when some players like Zach Bivens just choosing to play things like Ariel and things like Gaston, who can obviously avoid the brawl. And it can be super bad if your turn 1 Robin Hood just gets Fire the Cannons. So yeah, some people moving away from Robin Hood, but I still think he's a perfectly respectable addition. A 4/3 Cinderella line, 3 copies of this Big Bad Stout-Hearted, which I don't hate at all. The pressure that she provides, pretty cool. 1 copy of this Piglet Poo Pirate Captain. Super aggressive quester and very necessary for the red-blue matchup. 3 copies of Ursula Vanessa to sing R4 and less cost songs. 3 copies of Lawrence as a nice aggressive quester that can contest the board. 4 Pete to shut down those actions. 4 copies, the Candio special of Prince Naveen with that Singer 6 and the ability to play a 6 or less cost song on play, which can be great if you're just playing, well, any of your songs can be great. But if your Singer doesn't stick, your Ariel gets brawled, your Robin gets Fire the Cannons, and you just need to get your whole new world off, then this is a sort of panic button to do that, and then you're still sticking a Singer 6 on the board. And I super like the 2 copies of The World's Greatest Criminal Mind, which obviously is one of the greatest songs in all of Disney, but is super relevant as plenty of respectable characters with 5 strength or more that this could be a target of. The Stout-Hearted Cinderella, the Tamatoa, the Maui, the Maleficent, the Simba Fighting Prince, and we've got some new ones as well. The Maui Half Shark, the Jim Hawkins that's seeing play in Blue Steel, and some others that are evading me off the top of my head. But yeah, lots of great targets for this, and of course it's inkable. So yeah, SteelSong go brr, and making top 4 in a huge event, so congratulations to them. And also in top 8 we have some more SteelSong, courtesy of Babu, which I'm probably saying wrong, I apologize, but a 2-line special, and this list looks really saucy. We are on the Robin Hood line. Traditional song counts 4 copies of this Prince Naveen, but from set 6 we're seeing the new Pluto Guard Dog, 4 cost inkable. 1/5, but when he's got no damage, he's a 5/5 and has Bodyguard. One of the best new cards for steel decks in my opinion, and a lot of the top players in the cross-continental challenge saying the same thing. And I also super like the 2 copies of I'm Still Here, which shout out to people who enjoyed that bit of a sing-song. And I know I still owe half a lump some woozle. I'll talk about that at the end. But yeah, big fan of this song. 3 cost inkable, chosen character gains resist 2 into the start of of your next turn and you draw a card. So it's another song. It's higher odds for you to hit with aerial, and yeah, this ability is great. You're drawing cards, which is always king, and being able to give resist 2 to something big and bulky. That's questing for 2. If that lets it survive a turn or gives you a favourable trade, then that's super cool. So yeah, this list looks really clean, really strong. Congratulations to them. So interesting to note, no Ruby Amethyst, no Blue Steel, no Emerald Steel, and no Amethyst Steel either, which is another deck that has been quite hyped so far early set 6. So yeah, maybe a little bit of a shock, but just a credit to the consistent power level of SteelSong, still feeling as strong as ever. Blue-red, red-blue still doing really good, and yeah, EA Tempo, it might be their season. But let's move on now to the other event, courtesy of Top Choice Gaming. 42 players, and we'll start off with looking at the ink combinations that I've already looked at in this video, so we don't have to talk in depth about every list. So in top 8 for this event, we have Zach with that EA Tempo. A lot of similarity. I think this is nearly identical to the Artabax list. No, there are 2 snakes in here, which have been cut from Artabax's list, but he said in the interview that I did with him that it's still perfectly reasonable to add these back in. They can be missed. And we're on just a 2 count of the Merlin Rabbit, which I think if you are adding in snakes, that's more of a reason to keep at least the 3. So that's certainly interesting, but rest of the list looking, again, very similar, and we know this is a strong build, so huge congratulations to Zach. And now we'll look at the red-blue decks from this event, and this event they split first place, so there are 2 decks listed first, but this one is the Ruby Sapphire that went the furthest. We are a Maui Half-Shark variant, just that 1 copy of Dime, again, seeming to become a bit of a pattern. 3 B Prep, we've got 3 Vitalis Sphere to give this rush, 3 copies of Madame Medusa, so back on the higher count for Michael, 1 copy of A Pirate's Life with that Lore Steel, giving you some nice reach, and of course Maui Half-Shark being able to, if he's on board while you play this, then you gain an extra lore because of his effects, and you could potentially get this back, so that's super good. We're seeing that 1 Let It Go, 4 copies of the How Far I'll Go, the 1 Hideaway, only 2 copies of Maleficent Monstrous Dragon, which I think is okay. You always want more of these in the mirror, but it's not awful. We're on 4 copies of Tamatoa. Oof, thank goodness. 3 copies of that shark, and then yeah, everything else looking pretty usual suspect. So huge congratulations to Michael. And the other Ruby Sapphire deck in this event that made top 8 came courtesy of Brock, who is not playing the Maui Half-Shark. So here's our first example of that. But they are playing Maui's Fishhook, which I would have thought, like, if we were playing Shark, I'd be like, yeah, well, the Fishhook is a bit more synergy with the Shark. There's more Mauis for this to synergize with. But I think it's super interesting that we're playing this, but not the Half-Shark. But yeah, Maui's Fishhook is a cool card with the option, like, again, if you've got Maui on board, then you don't have to pay ink, and being able to give evasive or +3 strength can be pretty strong. And we are playing the 2 copies of Vitalis Sphere, but no Half-Shark. I mean, like, again, it's never awful to be playing this Vitalis Sphere because it's a 1-cost item, which obviously synergizes super well with Flavisham and Tamatoa, but yeah, I personally find that peculiar, that we're not playing the Half-Shark in this build when we are playing Vitalis Spheres and with these Fishhooks as well, but hey, there you go. I do like the 1 copy of Scar, which obviously is another way to potentially reset the board, but can't be sniped by Ursula and is just a body that quests for 2. So that's pretty cool. 2 copies of Maui. Yeah, everything else looking super good. I'm just kind of gobsmacked by the absence of Half-Shark in this list when you are running Vitalis Spheres and Fishhooks. 2 copies of Fishbone Quill. But yeah, hey, well done to you, Brock. Alright, going back to our other first place list, the split finalist. No SteelSong in these lists, so we've had our SteelSong from the other event, didn't perform as well in this one, but we have some good old-fashioned Ruby Amethyst Control piloted by Jonathan. 1 drops, we got the 4 Shadowbox Followers and 4 Diablo. Again, I mentioned this earlier, I absolutely adore this Diablo. I do think this is risky now, because EA Tempo is just going to get more and more popular. So if you're on the draw, like if it's 2-game format, then I think you just accept the 1/1 straight away. Because if they start Merfolk and your 1-drop is Diablo, I think a lot of the time that's just GG. Obviously, again, still a great card, works well with the Merlin Crabs. But yeah, as much as I was really hyped to run this Diablo, I'm back on Brooms because I think it's just a bit too risky, but it's still a good card. Full bounce package, 2 copies of Crab, 2 copies of Rabbit, and I love the 2 Genie in here. I do think this is low though, unless you're a more aggro burn version. Yeah. I think the benefit of Genie is you play him in addition to Rabbit. I'm on a 3-3. Like, I think not playing 4-4 is fine. But, yeah, I think this is a bit of a low count of Genie plus Rabbit. But there you go. 3 copies of Elsa, who I love. I think 3 Maui is also right. That's what I'm on at the moment. 2 Tour Ladies, 1 copy of Scar. Again, another I mentioned not long ago. A nice way to potentially reset the board, which is not sniped away by Ursula. The 1 Big Sisu I absolutely do adore. I think we need to go back to this Big Sisu. I was only ever on 1 in the past, and that was set 5 when EA Tempo wasn't that dominant. Now that I think it's going to be, I'm on 2 copies of these. I think it's just absolutely necessary, and of course can really help in the SteelSong matchup as well. So yeah, I think more and more Ruby Amethyst players as we go towards Continentals will be running this Sisu if EA Tempo and SteelSong continue to perform well. 2 copies of E-Prep is low, but the 1 Scar here, hoping to kind of like balance that scale, and 1 copy of Library to go alongside the Queen's Castle. Yeah, I do think this Rabbit Genie count is low. I would like to see this at a 3-2 at the least on either side, where we go for the 3 Rabbit and the 2 Genie or vice versa. But everything else in the list looking super, super good. Although Friends, I'm not about to say it's not super, super good. It is. I don't know. Friends is still a very, very good card. But in Ruby Amethyst, I don't know, it's feeling super slow in my testing lately. And you don't always want to, like, again, turning your Crab or your Fox sideways to sing this is obviously rarely bad, and when you get those turns where you can sing Friends with like Rabbit or Crab and then bounce it back to your hand, that's really, really good. I don't know, I think there are just so many other cards that I want to play and play at higher counts that there was a point where I went down to 0 Friends and I didn't hate it. I'm back on 3 at the moment, but I think there's some debate for Friends on the other side going forward. It's still a super, super good card, but I think we've got a ton of super, super good cards, so wouldn't be surprised if as the format develops, you see some red-purple lists that maybe go to lower counts of this or cut it completely. But nonetheless, great to see Ruby Amethyst performing well, so congratulations to Jonathan. Going into top 4, our first Emerald Steel deck of the video, which makes sense. America do like their Emerald Steel, and we do have some new toys from set 6. 4 copies of the new Calhoun, who I absolutely love. The way she can check the board and the lore gain she can represent. I think she's one of the best new 2-drops in the game. 2 copies of Honey Lemon, who is just an aggressive quester. If you're just playing 2, to put down a quest for 2 character, like in the mid to late game when you're just racing, that's perfectly acceptable. But obviously this ability to be able to make them discard on turn 4, especially if you curve after Prince John, is so, so strong. I adore her. 2 copies of Mother Gothel in here for a bit of board control. Of course, that Diablo package. 3 copies of that Prince John to gain draw cards as we make them discard. 4 copies of Ursa Deceiver of All, who can double sing the Chill, the Storm, and the Strength of a Raging Fire. 4 Pete to shut down those actions. 4 copies of Morph to shift into either the Diablo or the 4 copies of Beast Tragic Hero that we're seeing. And then another new toy, we've got 1 copy of Twin Fire, 2 cost uninkable, deal 2 damage to chosen character. Then you may choose and discard a card to deal 2 damage to another chosen character. As a Ruby Amethyst player that is scared of EA Tempo going forward, please Steel players start running this to punish them. Because this is a pretty good card in a EA Tempo heavy meta, I would say. If you can shoot 2 of their guys early, like a Merfolk, a Bonsai, something like that, that's huge. So yeah, I'm glad to see the addition of this Twin Fire. 3 copies of Hypnotize, great discard, and really nice card gain if you play it with Prince John on the board. Just 2 copies of the Hidden Cove, 4 Bruno and 2 Zeus for spot removal. And yes, Zeus I think you're going to start to see a little bit more of. There's a couple of cards that really got to go. Again, Maui Shark being one of them. Genie Wish, even the new Steel Bodyguard Pluto. So yeah, this is feeling pretty strong. But yeah, we have to highlight now the lack of something. No 2-drop Ursula. What a statement. I can't say I agree with it, but I respect it ever so much. So yeah, huge congratulations to Andre. And going into top 8, we have our other Emerald Steel discard deck piloted by Daniel, who's only playing 2 copies of Ursa Deceiver. I mean, at least she's here, but Is this another card that is not as an assured thing as you would think anymore? We're seeing 2 copies of Tinkerbell, who wasn't in the previous list. And again, I like having these extra good Floodborn characters that you can put on top of the Morph. 1 copy of Cricky in here. We're seeing 3 copies of Baboom, and everything else pretty usual suspects. Only 3 copies of the Deceiver of All. But yeah, another great looking Emerald Steel deck. Congratulations to Daniel. And 2 decks left to look at, both of which being Amethyst Steel. In top 4, we have Eddie. The card I want to look at straight away is Unfortunate Situation. 4-cost inkable. Each opponent chooses one of their characters and deals 4 damage to them. So, hey, yeah, if you're really lucky, then you get an inkable answer to a respectable amount of characters. But of course, if they're able to extend in any way the way that you would defend against a Lady Tremaine, then this could get no value at all. But again, at least it is inkable. Again, Scar. This is Scar, so love to see it. I don't think you'd ever catch me doing it, but maybe there's a specific reason that this is better than I am first seeing. But love the spice. And despite not being a whole new world variant, although we do have 2 copies of Grab Your Swords, we're playing a 4/4 Mickey Mouse line. Seeing the 4 copies of the Food Fight Defender is not a surprise. It's just a nice early character that you can put down to get a few quests off. It's quite difficult to remove, so yeah, spicy. But yeah, 4 copies of the Floodborn, who has resist 1, quest for 2 on a 3/4. And when you play him, you can deal damage to a chosen character equal to the number of brooms you have in play. And we are running 4 copies of the Illuminary Keeper. So yeah, I'm not sure if this is... maybe if there are other things that would be better than this, but it's not a bad card by any means. 4 copies of Tinkerbell, 2 copies of that Chen Po, a really big old bodyguard to protect our guys. 4 copies of that new fast flyer Surfer Tinkerbell for that early aggro strategy. 1 copy of Pinocchio to exert an opposing chosen character on play, who I do like Pinocchio. And we are running Captain Hook, to be fair. So, yeah, this isn't awful. There's an action that has this ability built in, which we're going to look at when we get to the next deck list. And it's inkable, so is a consideration. But, of course, the advantage of this is we can bounce it back to our hand with only 3 copies of Madam M. Fox. I do think that's low, personally. 2 copies of Calhoun. So, yeah, a lot of these cards I really, really like. I think we're probably trying to do a little bit too much, but made top 4, 44 player event. You love to see it, so congratulations to Eddie. And finally, in top 8, we have Edward, also on the Amethyst Steel. We're running 4 copies of Doc, so this version a lot lower to the ground, just wanting to be able to play out as many characters as possible, empty our hand, play Doc, and be able to generate new cards off of him. We're not playing any genies or rabbits. No rabbits isn't a surprise, but I am surprised to not see any genies. Instead, we're playing 2 copies of Yzma, Conniving Chemist. 4-cost inkable, 3/3, quest for 2, and feel the power. You can exert, and if you have fewer than 3 cards in your hand, draw until you have 3 cards in your hand. So, yeah, this isn't Brood. It can be removed by, Smash. Feels bad. They get pretty good value of it, and you've played it, you paid 4 ink for it. You can often get, if you can get it down before a Medusa turn, then you can potentially get at least 1 proc off with it, and if you do that, then she's got a value. I like this Yzma. I don't think she's as good as I originally predicted when I first saw her. But I still think she's a cool card. And yeah, we're running 2 copies of Lose the Way, which is the Pinocchio type card I was just referring to. 2-cost inkable, exert chosen character. Then you may choose and discard a card, and if you do, the exerted character can't ready at the start of the next turn. So whether we are exerting just for this turn because we want to challenge, we can do that, or we can discard an extra card to stop them re-readying, and that's either because we just want to slow them down. That's pretty much the only reason that we would want to do that second one, to slow them down, stop them challenging, stop them questing. And yeah, I know a few very talented players that have been playing around with this lately, so may not be the last time you see him. 3 copies of Cogsworth to give things rush. 4 copies of LeFou, who during your turn you may play this character for free if an opposing character was banished in a challenge this turn. And we're running hooks, we're running snakes, Calhoun, Smees, and foxes, so good odds that we'll be able to get this ability off. And again, that's the name of the game, to lower our hand size and then utilize Doc and Yzma. 4 copies of the Library that suit this low to the ground deck, and then 4 strength and 2 cannons for removal, and the for friends. So yeah, I super like this deck. I think this looks really, really good. Congratulations to Edward. And that is it for our 2 sets of deck lists. Again, congratulations to all the players, and great to have more data. I'm going to move on to a bit of admin now. I'll talk a little bit about the stream that's happening tomorrow and talk a bit about Italy. As I do so, there's going to be some footage coming up that I took while I was in Bologna. But I'll start off just by mentioning the stream. So yeah, part of the Cross-Continental Challenge, EU versus NA. I will be hosting 2 of the matches on the 26th of November. I can't remember the time off the top of my head, but it will be coming up on the screen right now, and all the information will also be in the description down below. But yeah, I'm going to be hosting 2 matches that I am so excited to be to be the one to host. First of all will be the red-blue legend themselves, Sailor of the Azure Sea. Will be going up against Magic the Gathering Hall of Famer and the first ever Disney Lorcana Challenge champion, Frank Carsten. I am so excited to cast that match. And I'm going to be joined by Brent, who some of you may remember had a very cool moment at a DLC this year, which I actually think will go down as in history as like one of our first like really hype moments, the sort of thing that they'll show in video packages in the future. And yeah, I'm really excited to get to talk to him and get to cast with him. And straight after that, I will be casting Thea Time representing the EU versus Zach Bivens representing North America. So 2 incredible matches. For that second one, I believe Spessy is going to be joining me, but I'm not 100% certain. I know he had a really long weekend and he had to travel to America, so he would have had a long travel day as well. So I'm not certain. That may change, but nonetheless, it's going to be awesome to get to host that. And yeah, I only did my first ever live stream on the channel in Bologna recently, and now this will be the first one that I've ever done from home, so I hope people will come out for that. But yeah, just to talk a little bit about my weekend in Bologna, Italy, it was an absolute honour to be invited to go along to cast and stream Lore League. I was joined by Harlan Sweet, Moyen and Artabax, which is always a pleasure to see those guys and get to spend time with them. But yeah, got to see again like some members of the Italian community that I've met at previous DLCs, but also to get to meet some new people and some artists, and it was just an absolutely incredible experience. I'm so grateful that they invited me along, and it's got me itching all the more to start to do more external events, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a future video. I don't want to get distracted by it now, but yeah, the weekend was absolutely amazing. They were so accommodating, got to have some amazing Italian food, and yeah, the staff worked so hard. I got to see up close like how much they care about their community, how much time and effort they put into these events, and like everything's personalized, even down to the table number cards. Like it's all got their logo on it, and oh mate, it's probably already shown in the video, but I'll bring it up again. The Robin Hood mat that was available for the top 16, and then there was a sketched version for top 8. Both absolutely beautiful. They gifted me one of the coloured ones, which I'm so happy with. I think it's so cool. Yeah, they really looked after me. They had this bin badge ready for me. They didn't ask me if I wanted it. They didn't mention they'd done it. I just turned up and it was on the table, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. So that was really cool. A shout out to Martin Lorcana, who casted with me, who was a really great guy, and I think did an absolutely fantastic job. I thought everything he was doing was fantastic, absolute natural to it. So yeah, a huge shout out to Martin for being incredibly talented and just a really nice guy and a great casting partner. And to everyone on the team, there were other people that jumped in to cast, and we got to do interviews, and yeah, it was just an absolutely amazing weekend. I do want to give a special shout out to one of the artists that was there, named French Carlamango. I think I'm saying the surname wrong, but French, who was such an awesome guy. He was the artist for Belle of the Ball from set 5, and from set 6 he did the new Wendy Darling, the new Pirates, also Captain Amelia, new Pirates, and one other card that I'm forgetting off the top of my head. But he was so nice, and he and he's a Lorcana player. Like, he knew who me and Spessy and like he knew people in the community because he plays and he follows the game and content creators. So yeah, it was an honor to meet him, and it was an honor to be recognized. And he gifted me this personalized piece of art, which is literally one of my favorite things in the world now, and I am going to be framing this and putting it on the wall, and I'm absolutely honored that he did so. So yeah, a huge shout out to you, my friend. So yeah, a humongous shout out to Law League, to the entire Italian community. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure and an honor. Thank you to anyone that came to watch the stream and supported that. I know I said it multiple times across the stream that I know a lot of people would have been disappointed that it was set 5, which I totally get. But it was a nice send off for it. And again, there were so many really good players in the room. Previous DLC winner Federico, obviously Artemax, Moya, and Harlan Sweet, the current European Magic the Gathering champion as well, from my understanding, and other names as well. So it was a great day of Lorcana, and of course special shout out to Artemax who split the finals. But yeah, that's pretty much everything. We're getting closer and closer to the EU Continental Championships, which I'm really looking forward to. So yeah, the plan for the channel over the next week or so, again, tomorrow will be the stream. And then from then on, I'm basically just on standby for events that are going on. I'm going to try and do an Ultra Data video before Euros. I'm not going to promise because there's a lot of live things going on at the moment and I don't want to make promises that I can't keep. But I will try and do so. So I want to keep content coming out over the next week. Definitely deck lists, but I'm not sure about what else because I've got a lot of stuff going on in the background, both personal and related to the channel. Be prepared! Hey! In relation to things that I want to get out in January. Those are the sort of cogs that are already turning. And of course with EU Championships coming up, that's very much on my mind. But as always, a huge thank you to everyone that supports me and the channel. And that's it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you're brand new to the channel, please subscribe for all things Lorcana. Hit that like button to show your support.